So, usual disclaimer for me, I don't normally do build videos, and my builds are often kind of weird and one-off kind of things. I'm just trying to make something interesting work, essentially. But I've been doing build videos lately, so here's yet another, I guess. So I've got is a Lancer build here, a Lancer build built around the HEL. So it's basically just an energy weapons build. So I'm just going to go into the HEL first of all. What I'm using in this is expanded reserves, smooth bore, and derailed armature. So expanded reserves gets me more max ammo and a faster reload speed, especially if I'm hitting stuff. So like when I'm getting pressure or something, I'm going to be able to reload faster, so it helps out. Smooth bore, this is a complicated one because pretty sure it's bugged, but gives you a bit of handling, whatever. It also deals more damage to enemies that are at or below 20% health. And the reason I say it's bugged is that's not really 20%, and it doesn't really behave like that, and it's really nitpicky on which weapon you have it on, how it works, and a bunch of other bullshit. It works out okay on the HEL, though. Derailed armature, got reload speed and max ammo. Generally, I don't want to be reloading with the HEL an awful lot, and I don't want to be taking too long with that. And max ammo's good, because you use a lot with the HEL. Other possible attachments here. Get the alignment module. Fire rate's good on this. The HEL is good for a spam gun, basically, so fire rate is good. There's other reasons I'm not using fire rate here, which I'll go into. Obviously, the max ammo is one of them. Don't really need stability, I guess. Unless you got really good aim, you can fire this on the move very well. I wouldn't worry about stability. Augmented speed loader, reload speed, stability. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with this either. You're better off with the expanded reserves. Autoloader, some people like this one. Gives you a bit of handling and 50% chance on kill to get 15% of your current magazine. The current magazine I've got here is about 150 rounds. The HEL goes through several of those for even a quick shot, and the HEL's got two fire modes, right? You just tap fire it for a weak shot and then charge fire by holding down the fire button for a moment. To get a full charge shot, essentially, which burns through more ammo. So autoloader, if you've got good aim and can consistently hit with the weak shots, that can be pretty good. You get about, I don't know, I think it does, I don't know, let's see. So I'm at 153, it's 148, so around 5 rounds of ammo. So that's, yeah, magazine's a little over 15, 50%'s a little over 15, call it 20-ish rounds or something. So you get 3 or 4 shots to get a 50% chance to get a reload of that. So if you're decent accuracy, you can probably land that and basically just keep it constantly going without reloading ever. If you're more like me with crappy aim, not so good. Combat actuator, fire rate, 20%, good stuff there. Handling and stability, don't really care. Okay. Flare breach, that's a pretty consistently decent one for the HEL. I got the fire rate of 20% and max ammo of 30%, so that's an option. Flywheel chamber, stability doesn't matter. 2% damage on hit for 3 seconds, stacks 5 times. You're not really gonna get that anyway. Like, the HEL doesn't shoot that fast. Like, it can, I guess, if you're using the actual definition of seconds. You could probably get 6 shots in there, but you're... You'll be aiming and you'll be missing, and I wouldn't go with this for the HEL. Launch accelerator, fire rate, stumble chance, handling. Stumble chance on the HEL is decent as it is. Fire rate, always good. I could see going with this if you're going for like a stumble build, maybe. Phosphorus munitions, max ammo, and 25% chance on kill to have little explodey fire patch there, which is a little bit of extra damage. I like this one on the HEL, honestly, because it has its own little burning effect sometimes when you kill stuff with it anyway, which doesn't actually do anything, it's just a visual. But if you slap phosphorus munitions on, it does do a bit of something, and it makes it a bit more impressive. So it's an option, and it's kind of a fitting, fun one. That said, as I've said before in other videos, thermal damage there on the little phosphorus area effect fire patch is crap. That said, there are reasons with the HEL that you might want that extra little bit of thermal damage there, which I'll go into in a bit. And the rapid dispersal unit for reload speed, 20%, and even more reload speed on hit. I don't know, this might be too much reload speed for the HEL. You'd probably be better off with other stuff. Personal taste, though. Top picks there, I guess we expanded reserves, autoloader, and phosphorus munitions. Maybe flared breach. Launch acceleration. Like, there's a lot of good options here, actually. Barrels. If you're going against synths, maybe the dual rail booster. Honestly, it's not really going to get you much anyway. Yeah, it's questionable. Because you're probably not going to hit a breakpoint there. I haven't actually tested that, though. Because, like, I think you get about 2,500 damage-ish on a shot. Yeah, you're not going to hit a breakpoint with this anyway, so, like, anti-armor stuff is really bad in AFE. Hammer Forge Rifling, Stumble Chance, 25%. 20% less damage for 5 seconds on hit. Again, if you're going for a Stumble build, this might be an idea. That said, there's not a huge reason to do a Stumble build on Lancer, even though it's got a perk for stumbling, so... If you want, though, it's a thing there. Hybrid rifling, fire rate, that's good. Stability, whatever. Lightweight induction coils, handling, whatever. Fire rate, another. Yeah, just don't even worry about that one. It's kind of crap. Twist rifling, stability handling, whatever. 20% chance on hit to slow by 50% for 10 seconds. Usually you want this with something that hits more often, or hits area effect, because, like, just getting a couple taps in on a target is... Usually with the HEL, you're not necessarily focusing down elites with it, like you can, because it does do a lot of damage, but... I'd sort of consider this not hitting often enough to be worth using Twist rifling. Polygonal rifling. Fire rate, good, you want that for the HEL. 50% chance on hit, enemies take an additional 10% damage for 5 seconds. Effect can only occur at the same target once every 15 seconds. So that's basically going to be runners only, more or less. Or just the very initial volley on something bigger. Not a bad pick, especially with phosphorus munitions, because it can sort of combine and get a bit more extra damage. It's like 110 damage on the phosphorus stuff instead of 100, so helps. And again, I'll go into this in a bit as to why the damage is a finicky thing with the HEL. Progressive rifling, fire rate and stability. Fire rate's good. Deal 10% extra damage to enemies with full health. This is okay on the HEL. If you're tagging stuff far away, using it as a sniper weapon, which the HEL does well as a sniper, you can do that. It gives you a little extra bump up on damage. It's not in and of itself enough for what I'm going to mention that you're really wanting to do, but it's there and can contribute. That said, you lose that if you don't hit that with the first hit. So, ratchet rifling, fire rate's great, handling whatever. Reinforced barrel, melee damage, reload speed, 5 seconds melee kill. This would almost be one of the very few uses of the melee barrel. That said, 50% melee damage. Melee damage only does 255 damage, which is piddly. So that brings you up to like, what, 384 or something like that, which is still piddly. So like this gets you basically nothing useful. You're not going to get melee kills, even if you're getting backed into a corner with the HEL and you can't shoot things fast enough to kill them. You're not going to reliably get melee kills, and going for them is sort of suicide. Smoothbore I've gone into, and I'll go into this more, and progressive rifling and polygonal in a bit. So, bracing armature, max ammo, good. Damage resistance and 40% stability while standing still. Wouldn't bother. Max ammo's good though. Calibrated armature, stability, melee damage. Yeah, movement speed increase. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with this. Guide execution harness for handling, and melee kills increase weapon damage 20% for 10 seconds. Effect can only occur once every 15 seconds. This is hypothetically a good thing for the HEL, because getting an extra 20% damage on it is fantastic for what you want to do with it. But getting a melee kill is good fucking luck. It's not really a viable game plan. Hybrid armature, reload speed, stability, max ammo, handling. It's okay, I guess. There are better options. Kinetic enhancement harness, max ammo, great. Melee damage on hit for 5 seconds, stacks 4 times. Nah. If you're getting multiple hits on... well, this will be multiple hits on other things. Multiple targets, too. But, what's the barrel that's melee again? Yeah, that would only get you... pairing those two would only get you faster reload speed, which is sort of just not worthwhile. Max cap, armature, max ammo, great. Handling, whatever. Quick charge armature, reload speed, 50% fire rate, 30% stability on hit. Wouldn't bother unless you really want to reload, and there's other options for that are better. Services to armature, handling, 30%, 5% movement speed, 4% fire rate, hit for 5 seconds, stacks 5 times, so 20%. Yeah, that's kind of useless. Stabilizing armature, yeah, reload speed, stability. Yeah, wouldn't worry about that. I'll come back to this. I'm gonna go into the No, I'm gonna go into the Zadak actually. So we've got the HEL. Basically, it's in a sort of mid-long range role. Personally, I find it very awkward to shoot things up close with. Just the way the game works, I don't find it really helps with aiming up close. And obviously with the HEL, you want to be very precision, so if something's moving around a lot, you might not get the head, and that sort of weakens you a fair bit there. So usually I consider the HEL sort of medium to long range. And then you've got the Zadak, which is going to be short to medium range. Setup I've got on there is going to be the anti-material brake for stability handling, which are whatever, and 25% chance to knock down a target on hit. That can only occur against the same target once every 10 seconds. So You can do the periodically on Elite if it's still around, because, 10 seconds, it's getting up there, but might last that long. And for runners and specials and stuff, you can just drop them down and slow them down. This is like a soft CC, essentially. Flare Breach, max ammo, or max ammo 30% and fire rate 20%. Generally speaking, you're just getting more ammo here and shooting faster. Pretty straightforward. And the green dot sight for weak point damage and effective range. That's both for just doing more damage with the Zadak with weak point damage, and also effective range, because the Zadak can also be charged up, which tightens the spread of your shot and allows it to hit more pellets on target farther out. So increasing the effective range means those pellets aren't losing damage in the process. So it ends up being a pretty good stat boost for the Zadak. Let's see. Ally Muzzle Brake, weak point damage, effective range, double chance on hit for 5 seconds. Not a bad choice, but I think the anti-material break is better. Just knockdown is too good for compared to like stumble and a bit of extra damage. But it's not a terrible attachment for the Zadak. Hand Sentinel Compensator, fire rate handling, stability hit. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about this one at all. Calibrated Hider, weak point damage handling. If you want the weak point damage, you can go for that, but otherwise I wouldn't bother. Counter Relentless Break, fire rate, stability, accuracy on hit for 5 seconds. I find this one kind of inconsistent personally, because like accuracy changing each shot or something, although I guess given how accuracy works on hit with shotguns, or how shotguns work on hit with each pellet counting as a hit, you're going to basically max that out on your second shot. So your first shot will be kind of wide probably, and then it'll tighten right up. That said, that's sort of the opposite of what I'd really want. I'd usually want a tighter shot first that widens out as things get closer. But maybe you'll like it. I don't know. I don't think I'd go for that one. Extended field break. This is one that I haven't figured out. So accuracy, effective range, great. Handling, whoop-de-doo, great. Now it's got this weird effect. 20% weak point damage for 5 seconds after landing a weak point hit. The effect does not stack and removes itself after landing a follow-up shot. So to me, what that reads as is you shoot something once, and then you get a 20% weak point damage boost for your next shot for 5 seconds, and it goes away again after you land that shot. So it's effectively a 10% weak point damage buff, only it's timed and goes away if you shoot it too long. It seems just a really, really weird attachment that doesn't make a lot of sense. There are weapons that have like a double tap shot, like the breaching shotgun and the twin hammer, but you can't put a large muzzle on either of those, so you can't actually use the extended field break on either of those. Where it might be a sensible thing to put on, maybe, but I've never seen a use for this attachment ever. Yeah. Extended flash hider, effective range, gets good for the Zadak. Trigger small thermal explosion, weak point hit, 5% hit damage within a 2.5 meter radius. It's not bad. I wouldn't really bother with it though. Like the explosion is not a big damage thing. The effective range is good for the Zadak though, so maybe. I don't think I would, but maybe. Precision hider, stability, weak point damage, so 40%, 20% there. Again, if you're going just for weak point damage, not a bad choice, but there's other options that are better. Tanker Muzzle Brake, weak point damage, stumble chance, or weak point damage of 20%, stumble chance of 10%, effective range of 10%, and a 33% chance to stun enemies on hit. Only occurs against the same target once every 15 seconds. This can be great on the Zadak, but in the case of the Lancer, and I usually also run it on Technician, although I started to run it on Recon too. But on Technician, you have a lot of ways to stun things. So you don't want that to overlap with your gun too, because enemies have stun resistance, stumble resistance, knockdown resistance that builds up if they're repeatedly hit by things with those effects. So if you have a bunch of stuns, you're sort of doubling up, and you'd want to instead have some things doing stuns and some things doing knockdowns, and they both sort of can gain effectiveness that way. So usually I run Tanker Muzzle on Recon, and usually anti-material brake typically with the Zadak. Triangulated Hider, weak point damage, effective range, 50%, 24%. This is probably pretty decent for the Zadak, but again, there's better options. Roll magazine. Alignment module, fire rate 20%, stability on hit. Yeah, there's no reason to really run this. Run the flood breach instead, it's basically better. Augmented speed loader, 20% reload speed, 20% stability. Would not bother. You're not going to be reloading. Usually stuff with the Zadak is... stuff's dead, or you're doing something else to not have to reload, typically. Autoloader. The magazine's only that's 8-10 rounds or so, depending on your perks and so on, but I wouldn't bother with that, honestly. Combat actuator, fire rate 25%, handling stability on hit. Wouldn't bother. Expanded reserves, max ammo, and reload speed on hit. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with that either. You're better off with fire rate, I think. Flywheel chamber. This could be okay, I guess, because you'll get that damage buff on hit with your first shot, so your second shot's going to hurt more, better consistently. And that'll stack, basically, because each individual pellet counts as a hit. And launch accelerator. So you got fire rate 20%, stubble chance 20%, handling. Yeah, again, there's better options. You've got a 50% stumble chance by default, I guess. I don't think I've got anything on there that does stumble chance, so that's probably the base default. So extra 20%, okay, but I'd rather just use a knockdown and use that for something else. Phosphorus munitions, max ammo, and 24% chance on kill behind a small fire patch. Yeah. Unless you're memeing around with energy weapons being all fiery and stuff, I don't think this is a good pick for the Zadak. And rapid dispersal unit for reload speed and reload speed on hit. I don't think that's a good choice. Optics. Compound optic. Effective range, zoom magnification, aim assist on hit. This is not a bad choice for the Zadak. It doesn't zoom in a whole lot. Usually high levels of zoom in AFE are bad. But you've also got effective range, which will let you hit out a bit farther, and aim assist will also help with that too. But the zoom magnification, most people tend not to like more than about 10% at most, because it just most engagement ranges in the game are much closer than you would ever need a zoom for. So dual optics, handling 30%. Is aim down sight to the basic full scope view. Accuracy on hit 5% accuracy on hit for 3 seconds. Stacks 10 times. I guess you could probably run that on the Zadak, but I don't think I would, because basically you're going to hit a first shot there, and then your second shot is going to have a pretty tight spread because you're going to have plus 50% accuracy. And you got a basic scope view, which is not the best usually, but it could be a way if you're wanting to use the Zadak at longer ranges. I wouldn't use it on this build. Hybrid optics, accuracy, 25%, handling, 15%, zoom identification, 15%, 50%, 10% damage, and minus 10% fire rate while standing still. Accuracy is great on shotguns like the Zadak. Zoom identification is very high. That said, extra damage while standing still is not bad, although you probably want to be using it on the move. Illuminated reflex sight, handling 30%, zoom identification 5%, aim hit for 3 seconds. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with that either. Illuminated scope, accuracy 30%, effective range 25%, zoom identification 25%. Not a bad choice for the Zadak. Again, I wouldn't run it though. Zoom identification would be bothersome, but accuracy and effective range will mean you're going to be able to actually tighten up and shoot out farther, and actually probably use a bit of that. But still, wouldn't bother. Laser sight, accuracy, weak point damage, 15% on both. Enemies are revealed by 3 seconds on hit. Not a bad choice. It works better for the recon though than the Lancer. But oops. Yeah. Rangefinder, effective range 25%, handling 30%, zoom identification 25%. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with that. Red dot sight, accuracy, weak point damage, range, and efficient. It's not bad, but there's better options. Like the green dot sight is better. You don't need any of the other stuff there. Silhouette Stalker, stumble chance, handling, and a full scope view. Unless you're going for a stumble build, I wouldn't bother with this. So the general game plan with the Lancer with this setup here is using the HEL for medium-long range and using the Zadak for close range stuff and for tougher enemies. Onto the perks. So I've got the Particle Pulse, and I've got, let's go over each of them actually. So Particle Pulse, you have 3 shots with it. Yeah, you fire 3 shots, whenever you fire them off. And basically just you have them ready to go pretty much all the time essentially because of that, which lets you sort of pause things from getting too close to you right away. Gives you a bit of a breather, and I'll go into that a bit more with some other stuff that can do with it in a moment. What I like about it as well is pairing it with Rapid Assessment, which when you activate the ability the perk is attached to, gain max stacks of Overwatch. So basically you just pop off a Particle Pulse, and then your Overwatch stacks are full. And your Overwatch stacks, you get increased accuracy, and increased damage, and increased stability 3% per stack. And that gives you, with Omniscience, 6 stacks. So, what's that? 3 times 6, I think that's 36, I think? Or 18? Yeah, it's 18, I'm sorry. So 18%, plus 18% accuracy, damage, and stability. Just right off the bat, just Particle Pulse, then it goes to Rapid Assessment, then you've got the full stacks, and yeah. You've also got Muscle Memory, which gives you stacks of Overwatch. Each of them give you 5% aim assist and handling. That's good because the HEL, when you're in cover, for example, and shooting out of cover, it does not have a crosshair. When you're not ADS'd, it doesn't have a crosshair at all. So it helps with a bit of aim assist there to actually land your shots at that. And I'll often do that with, like, when I'm fighting synths or something with it. I'll just sort of spam in the general area where they are until I see where their shots are going and sort of use the visible shots to sort of track towards the head that I'm aiming for. Obviously, I've got a lot of weapon perks here, which I'll go over that in a sec. But you've also got down and out here, and that's basically to do 20% more damage to enemies that are stunned or knocked. So the particle pulse stuns briefly. It's only like 2 seconds or so. So you can sort of tap that off and then shoot the hell at them, and you'll get 20% extra damage. I can also use the Zadak for the same reason. That can be even better with the Zadak, because if you're knocking stuff down, that counts as knocked, and then while they're down, you get 20% more damage straight up. So you can just shoot them while they're down and get more damage out of it. So it's a good pair with both guns, honestly. And on Lancer. So weapon perks. I'll go into this in a minute. So technician CQW training, that's going to increase reload speed and accuracy of CQWs by 15%. This is sort of the standard good choice with any sort of shotgun weapon, because the reload speed is good. You can increase your overall DPS with that, being able to reload faster. You don't want to be stuck in a reload animation. And your accuracy with shotguns is always a very good choice, because it tightens your spread and makes them more lethal farther out. Phalanx CQW expertise, that's increasing accuracy again, and personally I like sort of nice round numbers on my shotgun magazines, so I like having a 10-shot shotgun magazine, which that magazine capacity of 50% gives me. So, personal preference there. Another good choice is Gunner CQW Mastery. If you don't care about the magazine size there, fire rate and accuracy instead of, or in addition to just accuracy magazines capacity. So, also a good choice as sort of those are the 3 standard CQW perks typically, if you're going to do those. So I got both heavy training perks, both the Lancer one for handling and magazine capacity of heavy weapons and max ammo, and the Demolisher one for max ammo and the reload speed. So this is very much getting me more ammo in general for both of them. Reload speed off the demo and magazine capacity off the Lancer. Don't really care about the handling, but it's there. Then I've also got Lancer Heavy Expertise. That's more fire rate and more reload speed, so usually always good for the hell. Demolisher Heavy Mastery, more fire rate, stability. Fire rate's the only one that matters there. And then we get into the more interesting stuff, which I'll start going into as well. So Demolisher Heavy Expertise increases the radius of heavy weapons by 50%. Doesn't matter, there's no radius here. And damage of heavy weapons by 10%. Now, this perk is bugged. Before I even get into that, actually, so this bumps your damage from the hell up a bit more, and I'll explain this, I guess, in a few. But this perk is bugged. The damage that it says it gives you, it's not the same value for every weapon. And depending on how you're set up and how things work and how you're using the weapon and what weapon it is, what perks you've got, what attachments you've got, it's not 10%. On the HEL, on paper, it looks like it's 10%. Your base damage of the HEL is 600, and this bumps it to 660. 10%. Makes sense. Except you don't get that kind of damage in-game. You get more than that. Which is like, okay. There's funky stuff going on there, though. It's also really hard to actually, with Lancer in particular, by the way, because of Overwatch and how it constantly builds, it can get really fiddly, especially with the HEL too, with how it charge shots. It can make it really hard to tell what exactly is going on with damage numbers. But it does give you a buff. It does seem mostly accurate on the HEL. It's like 10%-ish. There's some weirdness going on, but it seems mostly accurate on the HEL. The other one that I mentioned was sort of bugged is the smooth bore here. So it says it deals 20% damage to enemies that are at or below 20% health. So again, that's not. That one's also going to sort of vary and be all over the place depending on which weapon it's on, how it's used, what kind of weapon it is, other funky stuff. On the HEL, it's doing more than 20%, I believe. So who knows if that'll ever get fixed, but it gives you a good buff essentially. This also behaves kind of strangely depending on which weapon you're at. It doesn't do this consistently. Sometimes it wraps it up with your base damage on hit. Other times you get a hit and then adds extra damage on top of that as like a second hit. I'm not sure offhand if you do a headshot and the second hit actually kills something, whether that counts as a headshot or not. Something to test and be in mind. I'll stick that in the video description, just to mention that. But yeah, what this does basically with the HEL, along with the demo heavy expertise with the smooth bore, that bumps your damage up enough that the HEL is able to one-shot runners on Insane and headshot them. Because basically, and again, it's really hard to tell exact numbers with this because you've got Overwatch stacks, you have how the HEL works when it charges. It charges very, very fast, by the way. So like, even if you just tap fire it, you're probably charging it slightly, even if you don't mean to. It's very fast. And it charges to full, I want to say, over like the course of half a second, maybe. It's like it goes from 0 to 60, like, really, really fast. An uncharged, as much as you can, shot, however, that generally does, on a weak point hit, does around 2250 damage, so 2,250 damage on a weak point hit. That's clearly not enough to actually kill a runner. Then, of course, that's where smoothbore comes in. So smoothbore kicks in after that, and instead of giving you 20% extra damage, it's giving you whatever this works out to. It's 906 damage, and that's pretty consistent with this build. So that gives you basically a 450 damage overkill on a runner if you headshot them on Insane. Does about 3,150 damage basically between the two hits. So that's basically just excellent one-shotting runners. What the HEL can also do, and it can do this without any sort of setup or perks or whatever, is you do a charge shot. So you hold down the fire button for a moment, and you just shoot the runner in like the body. You don't have to headshot it. Just shoot it in the foot, shoot it in the butt, whatever. It'll vaporize it. So it'll one-shot body shot runners. It's the only non-explosive weapon that'll do that in the AFE. So it's kind of unique that way. That said, without smoothbore, you can't do that one-shot headshot on Insane because you don't have quite the damage. However, there are other ways to achieve that if you want to run something other than the smoothbore. Like, for example, polygonal rifling, if you want to have the higher fire rate and a 50% chance on hit to get more damage. Which, in the case, if you wanted to run with the phosphorus munitions, that's going to give you 100 thermal damage per second for 4 seconds, so 400 damage. If you manage to keep them in that area. And if you're running polygonal rifling, that's going to bump up the damage initial 10%, so it's going to be 110. So this will probably be enough to kill things together. Pretty close, though. That's one way to sort of approach that instead. You can also, again, you don't need the smoothbore for this, but you can put, when you kick off Onslaught, that gives you not only just a reload there, it gives you increase your weapon damage by 20%. So that's basically just replacing smoothbore essentially. Although this is an actual 20%, not a 906 damage. So it's barely enough to actually get that one-shot headshot on a runner at a fairly close range before damage fall-off kicks into play. Which, for the HEL, it doesn't have a lot of fall-off. You only start getting fall-off around 30-40 meters, and then it goes down a little bit, around 70, 75, 80 meters, and then levels off again. So it's a fairly long-range weapon. It's able to snipe with. But, yeah, without the smoothbore on there, just open up with Onslaught, and you're one-shot headshotting while that's active. You can also soften things up with a particle pulse, and then shoot one-shot with headshots. Well, not one-shot, but follow-up shots with headshots, no problem there. Other things here. Because both of these weapons are energy weapons, you can't actually use the consumable ammunition. You can't load energy weapons with either of those. Just FYI, they're useless for both of those. Both the HEL and the Zadak. Another use for Onslaught with this build is, yeah, okay, you can pop it off to get more damage with the HEL farther out. If you're getting pressured up close, though, and you're starting to use the Zadak, if you fire, most of the ammo in your magazine and want to keep going, you need to keep going, open up with Onslaught. That instantly reloads you. You don't want to wait till you're actually reloading, doing the reload animation, because that'll force the animation to finish, and then you'd be able to shoot. Versus if you have a few rounds still in the magazine and you launch Onslaught, you just keep going with no reload animation, which is quite powerful and is useful, and I often forget to do it properly. Bad habit. Other perks on here that are good, though. Back Me Up is always good with Lancer. However, this sort of relies on your teammates being decent players, which, unless you know them, can be pretty hit and miss. So it's a good perk to have, allies getting more damage, because that can stack, especially if you've got multiple Lancers on a team. But if your allies are doing very little damage, that's not going to be very useful. Shake It Off can be interesting if you can take small amounts of damage, basically just restore it afterwards. There's another perk as well for that, to just make it better, but yeah. Good for small amounts of damage, like synths or poppers typically. Fitness training. That sort of adds up with that, gives you more health essentially. Protective layer, damage from melee attacks and environmental hazards reduced by 20%. That one's good for poppers. Tend to be that one's good for using with poppers typically. So 3-3, 5-2, 5-3, that kind of stuff. Hold still. Never really found a use for it. Hazard seals, damage from acid pools and all environmental hazards reduced by 20%. That's always good on 5-3. Entrenched, reload speed, damage resistance while in cover. Wouldn't bother with that. Usually you've got lots of time while you're in cover to reload, so whatever. High impact fire. I don't know. Lancer seems to have a perk here to actually do a lot of stumble chance stuff, but I've never really figured out a good way to actually make use of that, but it's there. So maybe there is something overlooking, and that could be interesting, but yeah. Overall, I don't tend to find a lot of use for this perk. Jackpot's useful, but my perk grid is fairly full on this one, so I'm not going to use that. And Lancer is less dependent on this because he's got Onslaught. He can just do a fully reload right there. Side expertise is sort of a waste of time. Short controlled bursts. Nothing I'm using on this build is relevant to that. Resilience. Not really relevant. Doesn't reduce the damage that you deal, that enemies deal to you in enough to matter. Strategic tactics. Stun recovery, debuff duration, 20% turn health. No, that's not really going to do anything useful for you. Bedside manner is always useful and good. That said, perk grid's very full. Probably not going to have that there. But there are ways to do that. There's things you can do on this grid to make space if you want them. Demo heavy training, you can just dump that and you've got 4 slots right there. Muscle memory is also one you can probably ditch if you feel like it. I wouldn't ditch down and out because the Zadak's very useful, but if you're not running the Zadak, that might be a choice. Omniscience is pretty required. But yeah, there's you can reclaim a fair bit of perk space if you really want to. So Bedside Manner can have a place on there if you want. Surgeon's Hands can have a place on there if you want. Downrange actually goes really well with the HEL. Makes it more of a sniper. It helps get you that additional damage because the way downrange works. The way downrange works is this increases your far distance damage by 20%. In some cases, this means your guns can deal more damage at max range than at close range, and that is the case with the HEL. So what's this? That's closer effective range or something, and then your far range there, I think it is, and that buffs your far range damage by 20%. It actually moves you up to like over here. So basically you're doing more damage at range, and yeah, if you're going sniping, you're getting those one tap headshots from far away. And these can sort of pair with each other too. You know, you can use other stuff and use downrange with other stuff. And makes sort of general. You end up having less messiness with getting that one tap headshot, which is useful. Hit and run tactics. Movement speed, if you want it, it's there. It's good for 5-3. Other than that, not really for this build. Particle burst. Not a bad choice for this build, because you want to have something to get away from runners who get too close if you can't keep up with them, with shooting them. But conversely, Particle Pulse with the 3 shots is really hard to argue with, especially with Rapid Assessment. Particle Wave, this build is not really set up to do a shit ton of damage all at once, which is what you usually want Particle Wave for. You know, normally it comes in, you smack it off, and then you just unload on it. The Zadak shoots slower than other shotguns typically. Unshakable's usually good for Unshakable's usually good for like Shake It Off builds that are centered around that. Not really what I want to do in this build. Relentless Advance. You could put that on there if you happen to be prone to moving around a lot while you're using Onslaught, and you're worried that Omniscience isn't delaying the stack loss of Overwatch. But overall, I wouldn't bother with it. Tenacious. Overwatch lasts 20% longer and grants 5% more weapon damage and damage resistance. It gives you a bit of extra damage, and it lasts longer if you're activating Overwatch to, activating Onslaught to pick at things and go for headshots and stuff. So it's not a terrible choice on there, but you don't really need it. Back in action, it's good for, again, your builds with Shake It Off. But again, not really something you want to use here. Disrupting Radiation, slow struck enemies by 40% for 5 seconds. Not a terrible choice in this build. Lets you sort of stun and slow things and then line up a headshot easier. Especially if you're doing a build that doesn't have a one-shot capability with the HEL, and you want to use the HEL with this. That would sort of improve your chances of getting a headshot, as well as starting things off with a particle pulse for damage and then slowing it down for the follow-up shot. Residual charge. This is honestly just a bad perk. I've never seen it be useful with anything, but it's there. Yeah. I think that is it. Yeah. It's a fairly fun build. I generally find it is not as effective as I want it to be. It tends to be kind of low damage, even though it's insane capable. This is very aim-dependent build, so if you're good at aiming and shooting and one-tapping heads in games, this is probably the build that you're going to like. Not everyone will, but it's definitely a choice. The HEL is also useful because you can spam shots repeatedly at elites in their heads and just do lots of damage. And you can also do charge shots on elites and stuff to do, again, lots of damage. Because the charge shots on a HEL shot, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like I was saying, the one-shot headshot got those 3,000 damage almost. That's with smoothbore, so it's not quite that. It's more like 250-ish, or 2,500-ish. But the fully charged HEL shot, that's going to do 5,000, 7,000 damage just straight up, just bang. So that's a very good way to open up a shot, a salvo on an elite or something, or if you got a moment, just dump it on there. And you can just, again, repeatedly fire as well. But yeah, that is the HEL. It's a fun gun. Anyway, later.